Hello again. So I thought I'd tell you a little bit about what it's like to be put in a psych hospital. Um, since I had depression along with an eating disorder and my family history of suicide, I was put in a psych hospital 3 times and a treatment center once. So the first time I was put in a psych hospital, they always say that it's like your choice. Which, okay, to an extent, it may be your choice. It's either you choose to go willingly, or they call the police and they handcuff you and Baker Act you, and really quite humiliating, I think. So, and I'm one that I kind of just go with it. So I would always just say, okay, I'll go. So the first time I went, a friend of mine took me, and it was quite the experience. First off, we were in the room with the intake counselor, and my friend that took me and the intake counselor were chit chatting back and forth. I was quite bored, and whatever, my mind just kind of wanders. And, I have a big imagination. I worked with kids for a long time, and I'm kind of like a big kid. And there was this fly that was like flying around my face. So I pretended that I was like on Karate Kid, the movie where they have the chopsticks and they're trying to catch the fly with the chopsticks. So yeah, here I am during my intake into the psych hospital, and I'm going trying to catch flies as they're chit chatting, thinking that they're not even acknowledging I'm there. And all of a sudden, they both just stop and look at me, and they're like, "She's in the right place." But if they had any idea, they kind of chuckled. It was really quite entertaining. And then once they took me up to the ward, something quite horrifying to me is when you go into the psych hospital, they strip search you. So here I am, an anorexic, completely hating my body, and this lady takes me into this room and tells me to take off all my clothes. And then I have to turn around with my hands up and all sorts of things. Oh my gosh. Like horrifying, completely horrifying. If you think I'm actually going to eat after that, you've got to be kidding me. So they take me on a little tour of the ward, which is like little rooms, and it was great because you had like it was like dorm room style. So you had uh, somebody, 2 people per room, and a bathroom, and it, same gender, which was really great. And but men and women would be on the same floor, and you'd have a meeting space. And there was like an exercise bike on the ward, and the woman told me that I couldn't use the exercise bike, that I had to go to all 3 meals, and that I wasn't allowed to use the bathroom for 30 minutes after I ate, that I had to sit in the common area after we ate. So I was like, whatever, that's like basic, eating disorder things that people do. So, okay. So I sat in, and, the first day I was there, they ended up taking us down to the gym. So I couldn't ride on the exercise bike, but yet I could go to the gym with everybody else and spend an hour at the gym, which worked pretty well. I skipped a lot of meals because that's kind of what I did, and we never had any groups. There was never anything. They kind of just put you in there to keep you safe for the amount of, 3 to 5 days, and then they kind of send you on your merry way, medicate you and move on. So that's pretty much what happened the first time. Is I met some really nice people and um, hung out for 5 days and went home. The second time I went, my doctor said it's either you choose to go, or he was going to call the cops again and put the handcuffs on me and take me to the psych hospital. And this one I only spent the night. My dad came to pick me up the next day. But the most horrifying thing about that is that they have to weigh you, of course. They couldn't have gotten it from my doctor that was in the same hospital. No. They had to weigh me, and they took like a bathroom scale and stuck it on the carpet and said, stand on it, with me being able to see the numbers and everything. It was quite horrifying. But luckily, I got out of there quite quickly. I was in there for less than 24 hours. The third time, I had just moved to Miami about a month or so before, um, and I was uninsured. And my therapist, again, gave me the option: either I go willingly, or they'll call the police and they'll take me. So I go and I take myself to the ER and do the whole shebang, and I spend the night in the ER, and they put me in the ambulance, and they took me way far south in Miami to this hospital, psych hospital. And I walk in, and they do the whole routine, the strip search and telling you everything. And then they bring me into this room, and it was one room, men and women, and the beds were lined up along the wall. And the only thing that was separating you from the next person in the next bed was a sheet that went around. So there were men and women in the same room with like men just right there. Oh, I was horrified. That one, I didn't even last like 10 hours. I mean, it was the day before Thanksgiving, and I had to call my therapist. I had to call the director of where I was having therapy, all to get me out of there by that evening, because otherwise I was stuck there until Monday because it was a holiday weekend. I met a guy who tried to kill his brother with his shoelaces. I met a woman that kept coming up to me and asking me who I was and things about me. And, you know, the people were really nice, but I'm not sleeping in a room with strange men next door who, you know, you have homicidal and suicidal people. At one point in time, there was a man that came in an orange jumpsuit and handcuffs in the same room I was in. And, you know, I just think that people deserve a little bit better. And I understand, you know, money and all, but, you know, there is no reason to put men and women in the same room like that and then expect them to feel good about themselves and to move forward in life. So those were always very interesting stories for me. Something that I kind of chuckle about now, but was really horrifying at the time. And that's just part of my recovery journey.